Hello and welcome back to Politics on the Prairie. I'm your host, Dan Williams, and today we're going to be going over the last four presidential elections in the Tulsa area, in Tulsa proper, and what's been going on between those elections and seeing how the city has developed over the years. And then when we get to 2024, we'll be taking a look at the 2024 presidential election by council district to see how the city looks under the hood. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this. So here we have the city of Tulsa proper, and as you can see here, lots of split precincts here, and of course Tulsa County is the other county that doesn't allocate its absentees, so take some of these top lines with a grain of salt, but for the most part they are accurate. And here we have the 2012 presidential election between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. And as we can see here, Mitt Romney handily won the city with 11 points. You can see here that the Democratic won precincts are stuck here to the river, near downtown, North Tulsa, and then you have a tied precinct, or excuse me, a light Democratic precinct out here in East Tulsa. This precinct has a large Hispanic population, as we can see here, 35% Hispanic voting age population. So, very good geographic advantage for Republicans. Even though it is just still 11% win, they win a vast majority of precincts across the city, with Democrats really only being in the areas that are less white. If we take a look at the white percentage, we can see lower white percentage down here, lower white percentage over here, and of course in North Tulsa. So very, very racially polarized. As we get into 2016, we can see that the city shifts. We're now at a 4-point win for Republicans, and we can see many more blue precincts pop out here, starting, forming, second tier behind the river, coming down from downtown, more popping up around this eastern area, the large Latino population. Take a look at the shift here real quick. We see a dramatic 7-point shift between these two elections. We see some rightward shifts here in North Tulsa, right? But very big blue shift in the rest of the city. Looking around, Brookside, all these wealthier neighborhoods just south of downtown, even down to southern Tulsa, and going out into eastern Tulsa. So very big shifts there. Again, this is what 2016 looks like. Then we move to 2020. Excuse me. 2020, we see the city flip. I don't know when the last time it voted for a Democrat president, but I can bet you it's probably been a long time. So here we see Biden winning the city by about 5 points. And if we turn on our shifter here to match for the change between election years, so 2016 to 2020, we can see that overall the city shifted to the left again, this time by 10 points, going from a 4-point win for President Trump in 2016 to a 6-point win for Joe Biden. Or excuse me, around a 5-point win for Joe Biden and some change. So big shifts here, right? Again, we see many more blue precincts now. I believe the precinct counter is slightly in favor of Democrats now. And if we look at our shifts under the hood, again, we see a little bit of rightward shift here up in North Tulsa. Looks like some of that is turnout related. But we see almost every precinct outside of North Tulsa shifting to the left here. So big shift, a less concentrated shift here in those previous precincts we saw towards the river, but more concentrated kind of in this central area, the middle of Tulsa, not midtown, but middle of Tulsa here in the city. So a big shift there. And then we get to 2024. We see that there's way more Democratic precincts now, kind of across the whole city, right? If we turn on our little shifter here, again, from 2020 to 2024, this is only a 7-point win, so not going to be a huge difference. We see the city shift to the left by 1.77. Again, as I highlighted in the Oklahoma City video, this 20 to 24 shift happened when the nation shifted 5 points to the right, so we can technically say this trended much further to the left. So in a neutral year, it would look more like a D+6 shift. Anyway, looking at this, we can see Democrat turnout fell in the city by about 4%. Democrats lost about 4,000 votes. Reps lost about 7,000 votes. Very interesting to see there. And if we look at our shift here, so I've been going around the state of Oklahoma, and I've made the remark that if you would have told me North Tulsa's partisan numbers and turnout numbers and nothing else before Election Day, I would have told you that Monroe Nichols lost. And here's what I mean by that. So here we see in North Tulsa, we see some dramatic right shifts, right? And that corresponds with a lot of decreases in turnout. Now we can see that turnout was down across the city except for this kind of little hook going into downtown Tulsa. Fun fact, this is also where a lot of registered Republicans are. But we can also see that if we look at the shift here, that area still shifted towards Democrats, but areas that saw their turnout decrease shifted towards Republicans. But we see huge turnout decreases here in North Tulsa, anywhere from 20%, 10 to 20% here in some of these precincts. There were already a low turnout to begin with. We can see here citywide turnout is 43%, but some of these precincts are down in the teens. So definitely very shocking there. This will show up more starkly when we get into our city council map. But big changes here. Overall the city goes from R+11 in 2012 to to D+7. So if we look at if we date this all the way back to 2012, you see overall there's been an 18.8 Democratic shift in the city of Tulsa, which each election shifting to the left more and more. So maintaining that leftward shift, three consecutive rather, leftward shift. If we put on the shift map here, we can really see the difference. Big, turnout drops here in North Tulsa, big Republican shifts here in North Tulsa, but huge Democratic shifts here down in what I would say is the bulk of the city. Especially down here. This precinct down here is a favorite of mine to look at. It's precinct 720211. It goes from a shocking, R+67 to, R+44, which is just a huge change. And its neighboring precinct is an even bigger change. 204 here, which goes from R+63 to R+28. So just big shifts going on down here. Still very Republican, but Republicans aren't getting the huge margins that they used to out of this area down in South Tulsa, right? So definitely something to look at there. Now we'll go to our map of the city and its wards. So one of the things we talked about is decreased black turnout, and here we have the first ward, which is mainly North Tulsa. It's majority black ward. We can see here 50% black population, and we can see here as we look through the years that turnout was kind of stagnant. 2012, 2016, shot up a little bit in 2020, but then went cratered down, but even below 2012 levels for Democrats in 2024. So definitely a big shift there. We look at the whole turnout shift, almost 10% down. So definitely a big difference there. We look at 2024 turnout, 34%, just very low turnout, very depressed turnouts. Definitely still things we're trying to figure out there why that happened. So if we move here, we move to Ward 2. This is kind of the West of River ward, very industrial, very working class. A bit of South Tulsa here, large. There's a decently sized Asian population, large Burmese population in this area. As you can see here, they're kind of concentrated right here next to the river, some other precincts around. But definitely also the decently sized black population. Still very diverse area of Tulsa. And we can see here in 2024, Still a narrow Republican victory, but getting narrower. Now only R plus 11, moving a little bit to the left, 1.5%. Turnout goes a little bit down here as well. So maybe some of those factors have to do with it, because some of these are Republican precincts out here west of the river. So definitely a slowly changing district, but definitely changing under the hood. Here we get to our lowest turnout district, only 26% rather. This is, I believe, almost, it has a large Hispanic population. We see 40% here, right? And has been almost always narrowly Democratic, really flipping to Trump in 2016. But we can see that, turnout reached a peak here in 2020. It's almost a 9-point Dem win, but then craters again by 9%, which leads to a pretty hearty R shift here. Almost every single precinct sans one, shifting to the right here. So Dems still hold on, but only net 400 votes, whereas last time they netted 1,100. Move to District 4 here. This is kind of one of the super college educated areas of Tulsa. Very high bachelor's attainment, 45% here. We see focus down at these precincts here, but also reaches a little bit into the Sand Springs area. Very wide, 70% wide. And we can see here, this is one of the key areas that was driving Tulsa's shift. To the left, we can see narrowly won by Romney. Bolts left to voting 13% for Clinton, and then just continues to stack onto it with the 20 to 24 shift being 6.5%, with Democrats cracking 60 here. It's also a very high turnout of 52%, at least relative to Oklahoma. Turnout shift is kind of neutral. Some areas increasing, some areas decreasing, but still a very dramatic shift here for District 4 towards the Democrats. Here we go to District 5, dead center of Tulsa. This district saw a turnout decrease. This district is the most racially representative of Tulsa overall. Various different ethnic groups here. You can see it starts out very Republican, about a little bit to the right of Tulsa, a little bit to the right of Tulsa in 2016, then it goes to the left, and now it's even further left. Tulsa still shifts to the left by about 4 points. It still has a pretty dramatic turnout drop, especially some of these more eastern precincts in District 5, which are more Latino. You can see here increasing Latino populations over on this side. And we go towards 6, speaking of Latino population, this is the district known as Little Mexico by some. Another sizable Latino population here, 37%, mostly concentrated in the western portion of the district here, over in this area. And we can see that it's still won by Republicans, had a huge Republican shift of 7 points. It was almost won by Biden, but now is much firmer territory for Republicans. But you see another big turnout drop, except for one precinct here, which had a huge increase in turnout. But still, again, look at those numbers, folks, in the right-hand column. Those aren't large turnout numbers for an area with apparently, 500 people. Even then, that's not a lot of turnout. You can see here very red areas outside on this portion of the district. Move to District 7, down here in southeast Tulsa. Another Republican won district, but we can see here it's changed a lot over the years, going from almost R plus 30 to R plus 20, R plus 8, and then down to R plus 3 here in 2024. Big shifts on there. Some turnout shifts, mostly in the north here, going down. Overall 3.5%, but still a shift to the left, mostly focused in the southern precincts where turnout went up. Here we get to our reddest district, District 8, here in South Tulsa. 1 second, folks. It's not wanting to populate. There we go. So here in 2024, Trump won it by about 19% here, which is the smallest percent. It goes for Romney by almost 50 points here in 2012. So definitely some big shift between all of that. almost a 30-point shift over those years, and almost a 10-point shift between 2020 and 2024. So definitely a lot of moving parts under the hood. It goes from, I believe, one precinct, two precincts won by Democrats, but definitely a lot of these precincts becoming pinker. Turnout goes up a little bit. Some of these precincts losing some turnout here, but definitely a very high turnout district. I believe this is, yeah, it's the highest turnout city council district in the entire city. If you look at these numbers here, almost a little bit over 23,000 votes cast in this district this time around. So definitely an area of Tulsa where Tulsans are coming out to vote. And then we finish on District 9, which is kind of a more educated 5, a wealthier 4, a less spread 8. So kind of a confluence of many different districts. They used to vote pretty close to the city, but then bolted left this year, shifting 8 points to the left, just zooming to the left here, voting Republican by 17 in 2018 or 2012, being spot on with the city in 2016, being a little bit to the city's right in 2020, and then bolting to the city's left here in 2024. Very highly educated. I believe this is, another 46% here, mainly towards the north part of the district. As you can see, if you look at the presidential numbers, almost every precinct in this district is blue now, save 2. So definitely some interesting dynamics going on under the hood in Tulsa. Each little city council district kind of has its own little story going on. Overall, if we fill them, and just 1 second here, folks, if we fill them, take a look at over the years, Democrats go from winning just 2 to winning 1 and 3 to winning, 2 again in 2016, but becoming more competitive in 5 and 9 here, losing third. In 2020, they win a majority of districts, 1, 3, 5, 9, and 4, and in 2024, they kind of solidified their holds on 5 and 9, and 3 shifts a little bit back, with 7 becoming more competitive, and same story with 2. As far as what the future holds, I think the city of Tulsa will continue to get bluer, as it has done in the last several elections here. If we had our 2008 data, I bet it would even be bluer from that. But definitely, city as a whole is becoming more favorable to Democrats as time goes on. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Politics on the Prairie. I'm going to be back soon. We'll be covering some of the suburbs of the Tulsa, Oklahoma City area, and then also some of the smaller cities in the state of Oklahoma to get a feel for what other population centers we're doing. But we're gonna group those all together and cover them a little bit more briefly. But thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Dan Williams, and I'll talk to you all later. Have a great day. Bye.